So I was born to Buddhist parents, and they don't know much about Buddhism, but they are very faithful and they do daily chanting. It's not common that, not every parent do daily chanting, but my father was very strict about that. All of us have to sit on the floor and chant for nearly 1 hour every day, and that included meditation.
Wow.
So it had an impact on my life. At that time, during the chanting time, if any visitors came, my father would not stop for the visitor. They have to wait until he is done so they can speak to him.
Wow.
So it was very important in our daily routine. So we have to wake up super early. And so my home, we were very poor, but my home with uneducated but religious parents, particularly my dad, very strict. He kept his 5 precepts, and we have to be careful about our language at home. You cannot speak, you have to respect siblings, elder siblings, and the words, conduct and words have to be like in a temple.
Wow.
So then when I had the idea of becoming a monk, I was trying to get his permission, but it was starting from age 11. Monks were asking me from him, but he wasn't willing to give me to the temple because we have been going to the temple and we have been going to the Sunday school. So we learned Buddhism from school and also from Sunday school. And I was also doing well in my studies. So I looked for those monks. I looked like a potential candidate for monks. So they were coming to my home asking for me, but my father had a different plan. He wanted me to kind of not be a monk, but still continue my studies. And eventually, when I was 16, I think, I didn't like certain things of my father. So, like him controlling my mother until the point of my mother kind of going through some depression kind of state in mind. So I wanted myself out from that environment. So the escape plan for me was, two plans: either to go to Colombo and quit studies and find work, which I had no idea how it would have gone had I gone in that direction. And the other plan was to go to the temple and ask monks to give me the ordination. So my friends, encouraged me to, go to the temple, and it worked. So then I got the ordination, and my father stopped talking to me.
Wow.
He was so disappointed, and for 5 years I couldn't visit him, or he didn't visit me. But then he started listening to my talks on radio programs because he only had the radio, and I think he felt like something was right with my decision.
Wow.
That people accept me, and it's unusual for someone with good education at 16. Education here is like grade 11, 12 education. They don't become monks. I was also studying biology, chemistry, and physics, but only for 3 months. So I have no idea what I was doing at the time. And so my father was so disappointed, and he discontinued communication with any temple for doing this to me.
Wow.
But you wouldn't believe that eventually when I visited him, he refused. He was a little sick. He refused to talk to me. But then his friends said, if you are not talking to your son, we are not talking to you. So we are not doing anything for you. So then he decided to offer me food and drinks and things like that, and we started bonding again. And you wouldn't believe, by now he has given his my brother to also to the temple, and he
Wow.
also himself became a monk.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So,
That's amazing.
so my decision is finally, yeah.
That's amazing
So he's
transformation.
happy now, and my mom
Yeah.
is also happy.
Yeah. Because
Yeah, that's what I wanted.
very rare that parents from our culture who actually listen to kids and follow their decision, right? They will always want to
Yeah,
control that that layer of
yeah,
decisions making.
yeah,
Interesting.
yeah. So finally, everything fell in right place, and my mother fully recovered from
Oh,
kind of a dark state of her mind. I think that was mainly because she also went through some very dark situations in her life, and
sure.
on top of that, my father being very strict person at home. I think my father was strict because he had to worry about the my mother's sickness,
Sure.
and also worry about five children because I had my sister and two elder brothers and a younger brother.
Hmm.
So all of us had only just their support.
Hmm.
So, and we were very poor. So nobody really like paid attention to us.
Hmm.
So we were struggling.
Yeah.
My father was also like fooled by friends for land deals and stuff like that.
Oh.
So he was very like socially withdrawn. But he had trust in the Buddha that he would pray for 1 hour every day. Like there was this chanting thing that he has
Yeah.
been doing,
Yeah.
and I think that is why he had tattoos on his skin. When he wanted to become a monk, he removed all of them. He
Wow.
said he didn't want to be called a tattooed monk.
He could become popular.
But he doesn't think, that's the thing. He doesn't think that tattoos and monkship, he doesn't think those two things go together. Although I told him that none of that really matter. It's
Mm,
just becoming a monk is a mental transformation.
sure.
So now, so they did plastic surgery and removed the tattoos, and I
Wow.
contacted the right doctors. So eventually, he's super happy. He's happier every day, and he became so different.
Yeah. Makes
So
sense though. Once you
my
start the
brother also,
transformation.
like, he went to,
Hmm.
yeah, my brother also, he studied, he went to university. He was following my steps. Wherever I went, he also came to study in those places. My brother is like a couple of years younger than me, so I was able to kind of give him directions and guidance.
That's amazing.
So it had an impact on his life. Happy he graduated last year and he's doing his master's, and also like a very responsible monk. So
Hmm.
I like to see that.
That's
So
amazing.
every day as a family, except occasionally. Now these days we are building a small place for my father. It's like a little monastery house.
Hmm.
So because he keeps going from one place to another, and sometimes he doesn't have his own kind of a place to stay. So he doesn't have to follow, like doesn't have to feel responsible for the activities because
Hmm.
he's now 72, and I think his age will be declining.
Sure.
His health will be declining.
Sure.
But he's very healthy, amazingly healthy. If you make a cup of tea for him, he says, if you don't add 3-4 spoons of sugar, don't give it to me. So
No
he's really like
way.
so flexible with sugar. I'm jealous of him that
I know.
because we are living in a different lifestyle.
Yeah, I don't even take sugar.
Yeah, yeah. Can you believe it? Because he was hard working, and his
Wow,
body is now serving him properly.
that's
At
amazing.
72, he doesn't take any. He's strict on his practice too. Like he only takes one meal a day,
Wow.
and so food is not a big you know problem for him.
Yeah. Was
He
he the
has been
type?
living like that in his.
Yeah, I see. Was it a tough transformation for you, or was it easy because you sort of kind of grew up in that sort of environment? Was it easy for you to?
Oh, it was super easy because when I came to the temple, one reason was because I saw happy monks and I wanted to be like them.
Yeah.
And in the transformation was said, "Oh, you have nothing to," because I learned it from home. And so it was like, usually I'm supposed to stay like 2 years in a monastery, but I was there in probationary for only 1 month. So then the following month, just on June 2nd, actually, into this, it's just like today. in 2004, I became a monk. So
you can still have visitation and communication with family. It sounds like there's nothing.
Yeah, but within the limitations that you don't get too involved with the issue. Of course, the Buddha says help. Nyatakanancha sangha, mata pitu patthana. These are like blessings for you. You look after your mother and father, and Nyatakanancha sangha, look after your relatives. These are blessings, but only in your capacity. So the best service you can give to them is putting them in the right track. I think I have succeeded in it so far.
Yeah, sounds
so.
Like it.
Mother always, like, she continues to do daily chanting, and she offers food, in her small shrine. She offers food, and she only does good things. I think that is why she has a good life.
Yeah. Culturally speaking, there's definitely a lot of stereotype we see, right? In our culture, Southeast Asian culture, whether you're from India, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Pakistan, we all feel very much obligated to sort of live by our parents' standard. And I think there's a lot of guilt associated to it when you don't follow that. I've seen it in my life. I've seen it in friends and family's life. What does Buddha's teaching say about that? That sort of.
Buddha says, you natam mata pita kaira. You don't have father, you don't have mother, you don't even have yourself. So why care about all this? But he also says, but you are supposed to be like looking after parents, looking after relatives.
Just like everybody else.
In doing that, I think just like everybody else. But again, if they are like too like socially controlling you,
right,
I think then there is a clash between the two of you. And in that situation, children choose to live far away from them so that you don't hurt them by being around them and saying, not saying the right things. And the Metta Sutta says, you don't fall into anybody's views, and you just come to a vision. Dasanena sampanna. So this vision serves you correctly. As long as it is serving you correctly, it doesn't matter, whether your parents approve of it or not. Because recently, a very elite family person, their political person, got full got 8 preceptor ordination from me. Her parents live in Nepal. So this kind of thing, she made decision is against her parents, but she did that because the parents don't like the person she was going to marry, and she already have a daughter from a failed marriage. So altogether, I mean, she's thinking now, why do I have to really live unhappily doing politics and stuff? So she rather work and live on 8 precepts, wearing white clothes, just like you are doing now. And she went to a very simple life. it's not only beneficial for parents, but mostly beneficial, very, very beneficial to yourself. So parents now cannot control her very much because of her status as
Right.
an ordained person. She shaved off her hair.
Wow.
So um, I
That's
can
a
see, you and
listen.
Lesson will perhaps, choose that direction. Listen, yeah. Because in the future, when I stay in the West, my purpose is to help people like you to, practice freely the monastic kind of life, which is missing here in the West.
Yeah.
All, Buddha was visited and joined by all kind of people from every place and every faith and every family background. So, and everybody was a candidate to the Buddha.
Sure.
So I like to see that happening again.
Sure.
Because it helps me and it helps everybody.
I think that's where my heart is. Like when I know I've been drawn to it for many years. I mean, obviously there are a lot of obligations, family, kids, and all of that stuff that you go through. But as I'm getting older, daily life goes by, obviously, but something about it, that calling is definitely there. And I know that transformation will probably happen someday. So I'm more curious, more and more.
You are a very special person. And I kind of continued my studies, though. I think I was so drawn to spirituality and meditation because sometimes monks choose not to study.
I see.
And I was trying to do that, and then my teacher said, "No, you have to study." He said, "You maybe you don't want to study biology, chemistry, and physics because those are not really monk kind of subjects."
Right.
And he suggested that I take Pali, Buddhist philosophy, and subjects like that. So I went through all the government education and got into university and continued studying Pali for my major. And I wanted to study, I changed universities because I wanted to study in English medium. I didn't have much English at that time because my family, nobody spoke English, but I wanted to because I wanted to teach in English, teach Dhamma in English. And I think the intention was good. So it supported me all throughout. And I had good friendships built, managed to get a first class honors and managed to teach in that university, just kind of giving back for what they did to me. And then I wanted to study about emotions. So I chose to go to Europe. This was a scholarship program that came to my university. And I applied, so I got accepted to the Faculty of Cognitive Science in University of Trento. So I spent 1 year teaching meditation and doing research on mindful emotion, mindfulness and emotional regulation. And we published a paper, and I can send it to you.
Oh, that would be great.
It's in +1, a journal. Yeah. So then I was like thinking of I have done enough studies. Then I was again, when I went back to Sri Lanka, I was teaching in Sri Lanka International Buddhist Academy. That's also an undergraduate university. So that was done by the Tooth Relic Temple. So they're still there. And I was teaching there. Then I met the American nun, Sister Kema. When she came, she and I really bonded because she came to teach in my classes, and she wanted me in their monastery in Missouri. And while so I finally came to United States for 3 months. I went back and I came back again, and they wanted me longer. But at that time, Lisan came, so they visited, and so ever since he has been in touch with me.
It's great.
He's a very good, like a friend, and getting blessings when he needed.
Yeah.
Then I applied to a program in Harvard. So they gave me a scholarship to study there. So that's how I managed, came for 1 year, and I got a lot of support. I continued getting, support. So I finished a degree program at Harvard.
Wow.
That was also in religious studies and spiritual counseling and Pali studies. So finally, right now, actually, just because my teacher also wants me to, wants to see me doing a PhD. So I started doing one in Sri Lanka. So I'm kind of finishing it now. When that is done, hopefully that will be it for my studies. But I like now translations, like I did book translation for Bhikkhu Analayo, one of the very renowned, scholar monks, and also a practicing monk. So, and those things will make me happy. But I like to also look after myself, like not sit too long in a chair and doing these book projects.
Sure. You're still very young.
Active like my father. But still, young is when you need to strengthen yourself. So.
Right. Do you think there's a huge difference between sort of 21st century monk and the older days monk and the concept of monk? Do you have more freedom to go out and seek knowledge, or is it because the sort of like changing with the society? Is that what feels like to you?
Yeah, it depends on the individual. If they want to look for knowledge, I think they get it. And the Sri Lankan culture, Western culture really don't care. No discrimination.
That's amazing.
And I have even taken Islamic studies just because, we were supposed to take a course from another religion.
Yeah.
So that kind of freedom is there.
Yeah.
But also sometimes, having done education is helpful for you when you are trying to immigrate to another country. So I see my monk friends who don't have any academic degrees, but they have a lot of practice experience. So they struggle a little bit in their immigration applications because they need, like in Canada, they need there's this grading system, marking scheme.
That's true. There's point system.
Point system. So for me, it was not a big issue because I had all this academic, training.
That's great.
So there are benefits of that, and I think also the benefit of becoming socially engaged, because eventually, if you are not happy where you are not going to find it anywhere else. You just
absolutely.
If you don't have Nibbana right now, right at home, and if you are taking the Nibbana away from other people at home, you are not going to find Nibbana everywhere you go. So I kind of I got accepted to Harvard. I must tell you that I also had senior monks sometimes telling me, "Oh, you have nothing to learn from there. You already know Pali and stuff like that." Then I spoke with Sashi, a good friend of mine from Sri Lanka, very senior person, a very spiritual person. He said, "We should just, you are trying to give up something that you don't really have the experience of. Why don't you just go there and see?"
And that's then great advice, yeah.
So that was a very good advice. Yeah. So I think I went there only for 1 year, but then I ended up staying 3 years,
Wow.
So I think I got right spiritual. It's my wish always that I get to know spiritual friends.
Sure.
And have that support all the time. So I have been blessed that way.
The network. There's one thing I've always wondered about. There are two questions that I really wanted to ask you. One was, it's really around love and relationship. I'll give you my example. I was married when I was 23. I had my daughter when I was 25. I'm 45 now. And so my daughter is grown up now in college. And
can't tell you're 45. I thought you're late 20s, so early 30s.
No, thank you. No, 45 now. So
Something is right with you.
it's all the blessing and the laughter, I think.
Good.
So I think I've always wondered about two things. So one of the questions
Yeah.
I had is very specific about love. Everyone in the society makes such a big deal about finding a partner. I've always wondered about that, the fact that I have a daughter who is basically the love that I need to receive. I already have that. I
Mhm.
have amazing friends who I get love from. I have love for
Mhm.
myself. Obviously, it takes a while to really get to know yourself, and the self love comes slowly, slowly, but with a lot of practice. But overall, I see it as there are so many sources of love, but why does people make so much big deal out of that partnership and love from the partner? It's almost like even if you have everything, but if you don't have a partner or a wife or a girlfriend or a boyfriend, it's almost like something is missing. What's
Mhm.
your thoughts on that? Why is that such a big deal? Why is that self love or love from the kids or the family or the universe not good enough?
I think in your situation, you are lucky that you have love from your daughter,
Yeah,
and that she's willing to give that love. Sometimes daughters can refuse to give any love to the
sure.
father for various reasons. And in the society, it is a big deal because we are cosmic, chemical, and spiritual and biological beings who always like we live with these vibrations. And they say you are born half, and you will be looking for your other half for the rest of your life.
Hmm.
Sometimes you will find that person sooner.
Hmm.
Sometimes you will never find it
Hmm.
because you always like look for the father figure, or it's like this Oedipus theory, the daughter doing what, daughter loving the father, because if the father is too lazy, and it affects the daughter,
Hmm.
and if the mother is too lazy, it affects
Sure,
son. That
sure.
kind of like, if or if they are in a kind of other sexual orientation, it goes in different ways. But it's not always that way, because sometimes there are other influences for these people.
Hmm.
When it comes to love, no matter how accomplished you are,
Hmm.
your decisions, your intelligence is affected by your hormones. Suddenly,
Hmm.
sometimes when you are 12, you don't care about who's beautiful, who's attractive, but suddenly hormones begin to become active, and 13, 14 ages come, and the neighborhood girl becomes so attractive. Start drawing her nose, drawing her lips, drawing her eyes, drawing her hair,
Hmm.
and trying to make the best out of it's just a mental infatuation.
Hmm.
So this is done by hormones, and
Hmm.
also your intelligence get hijacked by emotions.
Hmm.
Sometimes you look for, this is like a love tank theory. If your father didn't love you, you look for a kind of a father figure in
Absolutely,
your life.
absolutely.
And if your mother didn't give the love, then you look for that love.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
if you are used to tough love, you are kind of looking at various experiences from childhood
Hmm.
influence this. This is why children are being protected by society. It takes a whole village to raise them.
Sure,
So
sure.
you know this by experience. You
Yeah,
try to avoid bad people being in contact with you, with your daughter, because you just don't
yeah,
want that
yeah,
the whole responsibility comes to you.
yeah.
So for different individuals, it in your early age, you got married like 23. When you are married at 23, you get to experience what it is like.
Sure.
But nowadays, people study and study and financially become stable financially. And when you are 30,
Hmm.
that curiosity kind of disappears about the other person. So they
Right.
just get married just for the sake of it. But there is no better system to introduce to the society now that there is a social, financial demand. And you have to fulfill that. And various reasons influence people to get married. But I also see in the US that people choose to not split their wealth.
Right.
They choose to not get paper married. They live partner by partner.
Right.
And parents don't like son's wealth being split with another person. So they straightforward say that to whoever is marrying their son.
Right.
This is being influenced by various factors. So when you are, when for you it's different because you are perhaps spiritual, or you have other kind of force in you that doesn't really, make you feel that it is that of a strong need. But people are looking for their other half, and their desires, continue to spark. So, because of social media, people thinking whoever is presenting a nice image, they're having a good life, and you also want to have that. But eventually, you realize it's it's a commitment. It's like a monkhood is a commitment. Marriage is also a commitment.
Right.
So that need is a kind of a need that comes from past life too, that you have been living a family life and you kind of seek the bond of a daughter, bond of a son, bond of a woman in your life, and it's unstoppable. This is why when the son was born, the Prince Siddhartha decided, I should stop this now. I feel it all in my body, in my blood, in my spirit. If I don't stop this now, I'm not going to stop this. So, as a father, how you feel when a child is born.
Oh, yeah.
This is the hardest thing to give up for a father. So he did that. He did that because he was seeing a bigger picture. But not everybody is seeing a bigger picture. We monks, when we don't dedicate our life to spirituality, we also think, oh, those people are having a good life. But that's not true. Everybody is, your suffering only changes to different circumstances.
That's true.
That's it.
Yeah.
So
that's true.
This is like Ajahn Brahm saying, you put engagement ring and then you put the wedding ring, and then whether you want it or not, you get suffering. And he says,
it continues in different forms.
Yeah, it continues. Caring changes to suffering, and in the first year of marriage, wife listens to the husband. In the second year, husband listens to the wife, and the third year, neighbors listen to both of them. Ajahn Brahm is very, true about these things.
That's true. And I think, I've been definitely thinking about this for some time. And, I was kind of thinking in the route of going into a point where you practice celibacy, right? In my mind, I think that's probably one of the toughest thing that person goes through. And that also takes some dedication and commitment.
Yep.
And I wanted to understand that more from you. And it's been very enlightening for me to starting with that practice, because after going through that for some time, it made me realize how independent you feel. It's when you are not dependent on anything, when you don't think that as a need. There's a big difference between need and want, right? I want to be with somebody and I need to be with somebody. There's a big difference. So I've been sort of like practicing that for quite some times. And, if I were to ever commit into becoming a monk, let's say, that's something I wanted to practice myself and see how that feels. And that journey has made me think about a lot of different things. So I wanted to hear your thoughts too, like what has been your experience or journey, or what have you seen or learned about that process?
Yeah, so it's a wonderful thought, that is lingering in your mind that you want to do that. So three sadhus, sadhu, sadhu, sadhu for that. It's so rare that in the world people, even consider becoming a monk. Especially, someone like you who can have a good life. You can go in any direction you want. But in my life, I have always been like challenged as a monk, and always found spiritual companionship helping me. This is why kalyana mitras are so helpful. So when you feel troubled, the Buddha says, talk to your spiritual friends and they will give you wise advice. And when that support is there, you kind of don't look anywhere else. And you are not financially bound, you don't have to be working, and you only need to trust your good karma that you have done in the past. And if you happen to stay under a tree, food will come to you.
Yeah.
Because it's just that trust that you have in your practice, in your living environment. So the Buddha has done a lot of virtues, sila, in his life. That's why we get the benefits of the good order that he had established. So with that intention, you can still join the order and have your practice going and learn from everybody and also share. In my life, I used to think, you become a senior monk and you will not suffer much, and then it's just like small monks have small monk suffering and little senior monk suffering. So it looks like it depends on the lifestyle you choose. You can really, close yourself for the society and not have any contacts.
Yeah.
You can also live with the society and see how it is like. So, or you can choose both time to time and see how it feels like. This is like building your monk profile in some ways in the forest, not in universities.
Sure.
because that's where, forest in the sense that in a community which is living according to the standard practices.
I see.
Where you kind of get the practice. It can be in the US, it can be anywhere where you feel like drawn to.
Yeah.
So I see that, it's always a blessing to keep your desires under control, hindrances really low, so that your mind is fully available, fully present and fully mindful when you have to talk to someone or do something or walk from one place to another. So it becomes part of your life and you will never be happier.
Yeah.
You can always find that, you see your own strengths, you are strengthening yourself. So I think I would support people who are wanting to do that. It just doesn't start right away. You first see how you look after monks and you see if you can keep up with certain choices as a layperson. It's the Buddha says it's like lay life is like sambadho, and there are a lot of disturbances, bonds.
Yeah.
Abhokaso pabbacha. It's like monkhood is like open sky. It's an open visa. Anywhere you want to go, you just go. And you don't have to even spend 3 months in one place until you feel ready and you stay there.
Yeah.
So seniority begins on the day you become a monk. But before that, you spend a couple of months, like I did, at least, short time or long time, looking after monks and seeing, how the spiritual life is like. So it'll give you benefits.
Yeah, definitely. Another thing I've always wondered, like whenever coming from a Muslim background, practicing that for many years, and then going to a point where, especially when you go through life journey, I've gotten to a point where I didn't really believe in anything much. And then I came back around thinking at a more higher level, especially through reading different books
Mhm.
definitely helped me. And it's amazing. Like you were telling about your journey, how you got different opportunities. For me, as soon as I started to kind of open my mind about it, started to run into different people who would recommend a specific book or something. Just like as soon
Yeah,
as you
there we
start
go.
to wonder about, God start to send you, or universe start to
Hmm.
send you different ways to
Hmm.
help.
So it is the same God helping you in a different way.
Basically, yeah. Basically, yeah. And you know, in I've had this conversation with many people, friends and families, that the other day I was talking to somebody who was saying that, why don't you practice Islam? I was telling her, well, because to me it's like riding a bike. When you start to ride a bike, you have to really follow every single rules. But then when you really understand what the rules for the biking is, you can also let your hand go sometimes. To me, I feel that, you know, Quran or Bible, all are different principles, all are good, all had good intentions, different ways you can follow. But I don't think you have to be religious to be a good person, right? I think you can be a good person without having to be a religious person, because there are a lot of religious
Hmm.
people who does bad things.
Yeah. So I think I would give the same response, and we don't need to be labeled even as Buddhists in
Right.
our.
I
So, it's like open sky, and you go in any direction.
Yeah.
And when you follow the right speech, what can go wrong? And it's taught in Islam, it's taught in Buddhism, it's taught in Christianity. You just
Right.
practice right speech.
Right.
It only can go right. So,
Yeah.
what does it need? Buddhism? Does it need Islam? I don't think
I
any
don't
of that.
think so. Yeah. Yeah.
Simple thing, something simple like that shows that, it's about the transformation that happens from within.
Yeah.
It's not anybody's business outside, and they can see it. They can see when you are doing it right, that, oh, you seems to be doing something right. This person seems to have come so far without being consistent, without a change. That person has been very consistent.
Yeah.
So I think then you show to yourself, most importantly, that this is what you wanted.
Yeah.
Uh, because right speech, for example, when you speak words, you are under the words. Before you speak words, the words are under you.
Hmm.
So this kind of understanding is part of Buddha's teaching, and it's very universal.
I know that this is something I'd like to learn more about.
Hmm.
This
Hmm.
is something that I am definitely drawn to. And like I said, I've never seen an unhappy monk, so there must be a reason.
Oh, you have no idea.